Shola Jumoke James, and welcome to Freedom Vibes 8.0.
Freedom Vibes is a series of events geared towards civic engagement and advocacy for artistic freedom. This event is organized in honor of one of us, someone very dear to our hearts, someone who has really done so much for humanity and for what we stand for. Her name is Sola Alamutu, aka the Green Queen of Africa.
Celebrate me now when I day alive. Appreciate.
Sola Alamutu, well known as the Big Queen, is a writer, culture activist, and children and women rights advocate. She's the research and advocacy manager of Unchained Rights Africa, that's our organization, where she leads the monitoring and documentation of violation of artists' freedom of expression. She champions advocacy for reforms, provides emergency assistance to artists at risk, including safety and security measures. This happens a lot in the north, Kano, most notorious for that. Then, what we are doing today, Freedom Vibes, we started in 2021, documented over 200 complaints from our network, 1,539 media reports monitored, 50 cases documented as real cases of violations. Then we've had direct intervention and actions on 15 cases through campaigns, legal assistance, filing of complaint to National Human Rights Commission, and joint universal periodic submission to the UN. All these headed by the Green Queen of Africa. Over the past 3 years, we've created opportunities for young people to be empowered to leverage their hearts, drive social change. And it's very strange that not many women come forward, because if a DJ Switch is doing this, the Green Queen is doing this, and many women are doing this, why is this a problem? In September 2021, when we launched Freedom Vibes, we made an open call inviting young women to participate in the academy. Then it was a pilot. It was just a 3-day workshop. And only one woman, only one, out of several applications, out of whom we selected 16 participants. And we intentionally admitted that one woman. We thought that was just maybe an error. Late 2022. In fact, we invested more and we made it even more attractive. We had only 2 applications from women, from around 100 applications. Only one woman was eligible. At the end of the day, 2 months ago, only 2 women completed this program. And none of the women was part of the best performing participants. So this is my worry, and I believe that the panelists will do justice to the job. So thank you very much.
Unchained Vibes Africa and the initiator of the Freedom Vibes. When Mr. Ayodele Gani spoke about you, a lot of issues were brought up. Why are women not driving social change through their arts? Why are women found wanting? What's happening? So we would like for you in a few minutes to tell us your story, why you are doing this, and maybe give us pointers to how women can drive social change with their arts.
It's an honor to be honored. And Just as the song said, celebrate me while I'm alive. My love for social work, I'll say, has been from childhood. And I grew up with caring for the environment and also caring for people. I love children, I love nature, I love art. And so when I was going to set up the very first organization I set up, it's called Children and the Environment. All the three aspects of life that I really love, I put them together. So the love of children, the love of the environment, and the love of art. So I teach children and young people about the environment. I promote performance poetry, I promote visual arts, I promote photography, fashion, anything to do with arts. I use it to get young people to do good to the society. I believe that everybody comes to this world for a purpose. That's my purpose. My purpose is to leave people better than the way I met them. And I choose to do that through the creative arts. And then from there, I got into advocacy. And I protest against anything that I feel is wrong. Anybody being cheated for any reason whatsoever, particularly artists. I believe that with me and a lot of other women, some that I've mentioned today, that a lot more women are going to use the creative arts for social good.
Nice. Please a round of applause for the Green Queen.
How can the arts serve as a catalyst for social change, especially when it's led by a woman? And if you can, share some notable examples of how our Green Queen has used her artistic platform to drive meaningful social change.
Art is a very powerful tool. It's a tool that you can use to sometimes discuss difficult or sensitive issues, right? One area that I identified maybe in 2019 was areas around expressions of sexuality for persons with disability, because society just thinks that, oh, you are asexual, right? And you don't have those rights. You don't have a right to have information. You don't have a right to have positive sexual relationships and so on. And because of the way our society is, as women as well, we are not allowed to really express our sexuality or even talk about it. So it's even worse for women with disabilities. And one of the ways that I have been able to address that is to use the arts.
I'm still going to use Green Queen as an example, yeah, because a lot of the time she's able to use children to drive arts through the voices of children, you know, drive the message, engage audience, a wider audience, you know, parents and teens and alike and all of that. And a lot of the time, hearing children, you know, acting or saying those messages, it drives the point home for a lot of people. She probably may not know, but you find that people, it resonates more with people when children are, you know, speaking to us.
So yes, I mean, with art you can express different thoughts, different displeasures, whether it is through painting, through singing, through poetry, through performance art, or performance poetry. We've had conversations, panels at the Green Festival where we have young people, most of them teenagers, come discuss issues, burning issues that you think they probably don't have ideas about. And during those conversations, we find that they actually indict the adults in their lives, whether it's parents, teachers, people who are they're supposed to be their guardians, like their principals, their teachers. It could be something like gender-based violence, and you'd be amazed at how much young people know about gender-based violence, at how much even they know that the gender-based violence isn't only one side, that you have violence from girls to boys as well as you have violence from boys to girls. And the fact that there is a lot of bias in the system.
When you talk about gender-based violence, I've had initiatives where people use visual arts as a form of therapy for survivors of gender-based violence on one hand, and on the other hand as a means of livelihood, because they piece those arts together those visual art together, and they're also able to sell it to make an income to also support themselves. So you see that across different angles, you can use art to advance, and that's one thing that we have done.
So having those kinds of conversations, those platforms enable young people to air their views and also enable adults to air their views. And then you can begin to reshape ideas and change perceptions, change behaviors as well.
Art speaks 1,000 words. How it would appear to one person would not be the same to another person, and it allows you, depending on the type of art, whether it's creative, whether it's visual, you're allowed to express yourself in such a very profound way. And I would also say that whoever is listening to the art or taking it in, it impacts the soul of the person, as opposed to just, written, or just, when it's artistic, it speaks to your soul, and that's what is very important.
What are the challenges and opportunities unique to women in leveraging the arts for driving social change?
I think it's a mindset thing. So many of our girls are raised to believe that at the end of the day, their highest goal is to be wives and mothers, caregivers. This is a beautiful goal.
Yeah.
Being a wife, being a mother is a great responsibility. However, we find that while we raise our girls to be caregivers and home nurturers, we raise our boys to dream big. So it's a boy who's encouraged to be anything, be an engineer, be a pilot, be a doctor, be anything you want to be. But the girl isn't encouraged to do that. And so from childhood, the range of your dreams is narrowed. You don't think you can do it. If we even look at the fact that many parents look down on the arts, for
Yeah,
instance, the
yeah.
performance arts. So if a girl decides, oh, she wants to act, she has to be very strong. She has to have the confidence to go ahead and do it. Because all sorts of things will be thrown at her. She'll be labeled like she's going to be a loose woman if
Yeah.
she goes into the arts.
A lot of the challenges is really around people appreciating it as much as it should be appreciated, and understanding some of the messages that different creatives use to channel of art to pass across to people.
Stigmatization. If you come out creatively, they see you as wayward, you are too wild, you are too enlightened. They say, this one, you can't control her. People like who they will control.
Funding is always the problem. When there are no focused purses targeted at women in the arts, where we do not have such kind of funding in Nigeria, it starts with the government, but the government won't. But individuals, associations, these little grants can help, because it starts from the artist that is around in the community. You find that abroad, where you have community sponsorship, state sponsorships, and all of that, to push especially women to go into advocacy and take their art beyond just trying to survive to a level of becoming advocate, because the artist must first survive. That's another thing. And as a woman in society, as a girl in society, the economic factor and challenges are staring you on the face, and you're talking about, and you're the first daughter. Even though you are still in secondary school, you have a lot of responsibility, that they are looking up to you, and you have younger ones, and you say you are talented. You won first prize in an arts, but in an art, no, it's not with secondary school or primary school. You won the first prize. You're coming home with your prize, and your mom is telling, make you know, say no be this thing you go follow. Put eye for book, oh. Put your eye for book, oh.
We need to change the mindset of how our women think. No, let me not go women, our girls. When you're a creative, it's a long term, it's a marathon. And if you don't have that passion, you can be discouraged. What steps can institutions and policy makers take to support and amplify the voices of women artists driving social change?
I would say that on every level, whether you're local, state, federal, international, you need to sensitize people. You need to create opportunities like this for people to network and for people to see people in that space as well. I don't think that the government and policymakers are doing a lot, even in the primary schools and secondary schools. We need to really advocate and catch people young people. As much as possible, we need to start taking steps. Primary schools, add it to the curriculum, secondary schools, and even universities. Let's make it a thing.
Including some of these aspects in curriculums in school, I think that might help. But you see, until we get to the point where the curriculum becomes actually practical for this environment, what we'll be doing is simply overloading the children, because there are so many things that they are learning. And I'm sorry, but I don't think everything that they learn in school is actually useful to them.
So I think that it's really about, we need to kind of begin to think of how to contextualize. That's one of the ways that we can get young women out, because what applies for a young girl in the southwest is different from a young girl in the north, right? And we need to understand that contextual difference and leverage on it.
So the women in the various fields of art, whether it's literary, whether it's film, it's painting, whatever, they all belong to associations and societies. I think there should be advocacy around that. Get together, speak to the public, create awareness and sensitization. Second, I think public policy. I think government needs to create that space. Right now, the space is created generally for artists, but women don't have the same access that men do.
We really have to rethink and rejig the entire system, the educational system, the way we think, the way we act, and even the way we talk. Because a lot of people have good ideas, but they can't express them. For as long as there is a disconnect and there is a belief that, what do they know anyway? I'm sorry, but for as long as that is the thinking, that, there is no realization that there's something to be said for experience. Even though those of us who are experienced also understand that there's something to be said for the way young people think. So people like me, I learn from my children. In fact, I learn from my grandchildren, okay? But how willing is my grandchild or grandchildren, how willing are they to learn from me? It's just a question.
As mommy has said, there's also that intergenerational gap, right? Between people like Green Queen and the younger generation. So again, is how do we speak the language that these younger women can understand, right? And still be able to pass that experience, that knowledge that Green Queen's generation has to us, and enable us to step up, or enable this younger generation to step up.
For arts to keep growing, especially arts that women are involved in, it is important to be able to fund this initiative, any initiative at all, whether it's a girl doing making furniture and art pieces with used tires, or the person making other kinds of crafts and arts and artifacts using recycled products. The person needs to be able to fund the business. And so I think that if it was going to be a policy thing, maybe the government can ensure that businesses that fund other business, like banks, for instance, maybe they can suggest that when it's a business that is run by women, maybe there's a lower
Return
interest
rate,
rates
research
when
rates.
they get loans. They can make such things more available for particularly young women who are in businesses that are involved in the arts. We can also look at things like mentorship. I know that we have a few initiatives where you have girls being encouraged to code or to go into robotics. Maybe we can have more of such initiatives for girls in arts